Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear students, barakallah fikum. I hope you listen to our session 4. Welcome to session 5 of online learning. Inshallah, today we will see about conservation of biodiversity. Last class, you know that we saw about classification of animals and how core data and non-core data are classified and having like different phylum. Hope you studied. Inshallah, today's topic will be conserving biodiversity. Conserving biodiversity means preserving the biodiversity, saving it from destruction. Okay, we know that in the world we live on Earth, we must strive to conserve the biodiversity. There are different organisms and they are interdependent. Okay, they are not independent but interdependent to maintain a balance in nature. So we have to conserve the organisms. Okay, so the role of biodiversity in maintaining harmony in nature. So biodiversity maintains equilibrium in nature. Equilibrium means there is like a balance. For example, you know that the bees, honey bees, they go and and eat from the flowers. Okay, to produce honey from the flowers, they take those um, sweet kind of juices from the flower. So while they take in their legs, the pollen grains will be stuck into that, and when they go into the next flower, having female flower, the pollen will be transferred there, and then I mean reproduction happens, then fruits form. So this is one of the examples I'm giving you. There are many examples. For example, we eat from the plants, so we are dependent upon them, and we eat from animals meat like uh, goat, chicken, and other foods like fishes and all those things. So we all are like interdependent. So if we want to maintain a balance in the nature, then we have to preserve them. We have to preserve the organisms, and we should stop destroying them. Okay, and this is because without this, for example, if we fish a lot, I mean if we take a lot of fish from the ocean, okay, without any gap, then there will be no reproduction. Then it will affect the balance in the nature. So there should be a balance. You can see you might know that uh, in the ocean they give a particular time, like I think 1 month or 2 months, I'm not sure. In the coastal regions, they don't allow the fisherman to go do fishing because they have to breed, the fishes have to breed. So these are the things we have to do to conserve biodiversity. Okay, and there are some animals and plants that are extinct. Extinct means they are no more. Okay, they are over, and some are near to extinction. Okay, so we should save and preserve those organisms from extinction. People uh, kill tigers, elephants. Okay, they hunt them for example, from the elephant they take that ivory. Okay, the ivory, the white color thing in front of the trunk. Okay, they kill the elephants for that purpose, and they kill tigers for their tooth. All these things they do. They should stop doing this. So government should take uh, severe actions against such people. And here they have mentioned that you might have heard of Veerappan, who used to illegally cut sandalwood trees and sell them. Yeah, he was from Tamil Nadu, and he was in Bangalore. He would not Bangalore, I mean Karnataka. Uh, he would cut sandal trees. He was a criminal, but for Tamil people, he was like a hero because he was illegally cut sandalwood trees, sell them, and he would help some people, it seems. Anyway, what he did was illegal. But he was shot down by an operation. And there are projects like Operation Tiger, Operation Elements. The government have projects to help, I mean, like to prevent decline in their numbers. Okay, due to their habitat destruction. Habitat is their living area. Many people um, destroy their habitat. And also, you know that the forests are like destroyed to build houses. So that's also is destroying of biodiversity. So we should take necessary prevention methods to preserve the biodiversity. So what can you do? We can spread awareness to people. That is, we should go to people, give them pamphlets, tell them that we have to preserve the biodiversity. We should not destroy organisms. We should not destroy trees and all those things. We should make awareness. And you can also uh, write essays, keep competitions, okay, in the name of like conservation of biodiversity, so that people get awareness. And we can make photographs of birds to and animals, trees, to make greeting cards so that people get awareness. Alhamdulillah, we have completed this lesson. So once again, I'll do a recap of it. That is, we first saw biodiversity and explain what is biodiversity. Then we went on to see about a biosphere, ecosystem, species. We gave the definitions. Then we saw the levels of biodiversity: ecological biodiversity, species diversity, genetic diversity. Then we went to patterns of biodiversity. We saw the global scenario. We saw different 6 biogeographic regions, and Indian scene hotspot, two hotspots like Eastern Himalayas and Western Ghats. Then we went on to see about classifying and naming organisms. We told why it is necessary to name organisms, and we saw about the taxonomy system, that is binomial nomenclature naming system. Then we saw 3 domains of classification: Archaebacteria, Eubacteria, and Eukarya. And then we saw 5 kingdoms of life: Monera, Protista, fungi, plantae, and animalia. We told that initially it was only animalia and plantae, but then Carolus Linnaeus, he introduced this 5 kingdom system. Then we briefly saw that. Then we went on to see how organisms are named. That is, I told binomial nomenclature. Sorry, I the 5 kingdom system was introduced by a different scientist. I told Carolus Linnaeus, right? That was wrong. It was by a different scientist. But this binomial nomenclature was introduced by Carolus Linnaeus. This is a correction, okay? I made a mistake there. Fine. Then we saw about uh, like explanation about the kingdom Monera, and all these 5 kingdom. Then classification of plants. In this lesson, we are seeing only 2 kingdom, that is plant and animalia, in detail. We saw about kingdom plantae, then classification of animals, then finally conserving the biodiversity. So alhamdulillah, these are the topics covered in this lesson, the living world. I mean, in this lesson, classification of living organisms, in the module 5, the living world. Alhamdulillah, please study carefully, one by one, I mean one topic by one topic. Write it down, study with your friends, and inshallah, uh, I will discuss with our vice principal, and when we organize online live class, then at that time you can ask me questions. And also, if not, you can also send me messages, voice note, or writing down your question, send me and asking me any questions. regarding our lesson. Fine, barakallah fikum. And your homework, I'm giving three homework. I'm giving you. The last class I told you that you have to draw a flow chart or mind map, but I have decided that you don't do that because I feel like it will be a stress for you or difficult for you. So inshallah, when the school or when our school is opened, at that time we will do that. But for now, I'm going to give you three homework. First one is that first one is that you have here in-text questions in the book, that is 19.3, 19.2, and 19.1 will be there in text questions. For all these in text questions, you have to write down the answers in the book itself. In the textbook itself, you have to write down the answers. Okay, you see, you go through the lesson topic and find the answer and write it down. First, you do that, and finally, you check the answers. At the end of the lesson, you have answers to in text questions. You finally check it. Okay, you don't directly write down the answers from here. Don't copy the answers from here. First, try to write down the answers with your own effort by referring to the lesson content. Then you check the answers. Fine, that is the first homework. Second homework is that you take your notebook and write down this part, what you have learned. This part you have to write completely till here, till above terminal exercises. So this should be there in your notebook, what you have learned. This part you should have written in your notebook. That after you have written down, you should take photograph and send it to the group. And inshallah, I will let you know when is the last date for submission. Within 1 week it will come. Okay, so within 1 week you have to submit this one, the what you have learned. This part you have to write on your notebook, in your notebook. Fine, this is the second homework. Third homework is that the terminal exercises questions are there, around 15 questions are there. So you have to go through the lesson and mark down the answers. For example, the first question, define biodiversity, mention its three levels and briefly explain them. So carefully read the questions and mark down the answers. So here, define biodiversity, first part, mention its three levels and briefly explain them. So three parts you have there. So you go through the lessons, you go through the lesson and see the topics. So here is the biodiversity, and you read and you mark down the appropriate answer. For example, here the enormous variety of organisms is termed biodiversity. Bios means life and diversity means variety. Okay, you marked it down and mark here as one, I mean question number one. Then they have asked different levels, three levels. So here you come down, you have levels of biodiversity and you have three levels: ecological diversity, species diversity, genetic diversity. And also they've asked you to briefly explain them, short. So you read it and briefly mark down the explanation for it. Okay, you don't have to completely write it down, but briefly explain it. Okay, for example, here from variety of species living till here. Okay, and here you'll see some four lines, it will come. And in this also, every species has a gene pool. Gene pool means all the different kinds of genes. Like this you have to read and mark down the answers. For some questions in the terminal exercises, like here 15th question, you find some boys pelting stones at a monkey sitting on a tree. Write 5 sentences which can dissuade those boys. That is, this is a scenario they are giving. You have to write 5 sentences to dissuade this voice, that is to tell them not to do that. Okay, for example, you'll write first point, go and talk to them about the awareness of biodiversity. Second point, to not to torture living beings. Like that you have to think and write 5 points for all these terminal exercises questions. You study the lesson well and write down the answers and mark down the answers. Discuss with your friends or refer the internet. I don't think you have to refer internet, but if needed you can refer internet. Okay, and write down the answers. For the questions where the answers are present in the lesson, you just mark it down in the book and put the question number. If it's first question, then you put 1. Okay, uh, as for those questions, you have to write it down. Okay, like this independent questions which are not found in the book, but you have to think. For those, you write it near here in the notes section. Okay, here, or you can write here notes, and here also you can write. And if there is no space, you can take this space also, other spaces, but write down the question number and write down the answers. Okay, inshallah within 1 week you have to show me this one, what you have learned. This part you should have written in your notebook. Barakallah Fiq. May Allah help us all. We will stop today's session here, and alhamdulillah we have completed this lesson, and from next session we will go on to the next lesson. Jazakumullah khaira. Barakallah fiikum. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Thank you.